recording. Okay, welcome, Clear Vision Wednesday. We are live today, and it's another, 1 second, give me 1 second. I'm trying to figure out the recording situation. Okay, I'm Claudia Mühlenweg, and today is Clear Vision Wednesday time, and our topic today is the third piece in the trilogy on grounding. So we did two different ones before with Medicine King on energy medicine, and I did one last week on barefoot vision, talking about how going barefoot, wearing barefoot shoes, and massaging and strengthening your feet is really important for grounding. And today I have a super special guest to tell us a little bit about using the earth element from the 5 elements in Chinese medicine. And let me bring her on. So let me welcome Trisha Kirby. Hi, Trisha.
Hey, Claudia.
So you are, we have the bio, we have everything posted underneath the YouTube, but you are a bioresonance practitioner, you're 5 elements practitioner. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and also how did you get into this whole healing business, right? How did this all happen or come about before we dive into the actual grounding?
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you for having me on the show. I'm so super excited. I was born intuitive. I was born clairvoyant. So I was actually having dreams and seeing things before they happen, kind of like what you see in the movies sometimes, in great detail. So a lot of nightmares when I was a kid, and I didn't do anything with it. My parents were like, you are not going to be a psychic. You are not going to do that mystic stuff, and you're going to go into business. But I ended up going to the Park Service and being a park ranger. And then when I got out of that, I got out of it because I was in a terrible car accident. I got hit by a drunk driver, and I ended up really sick. Like, I just couldn't get better. And over the course of my healing journey, and I didn't have health insurance, so everything I did was like piecing it together, seeing this doctor and seeing that doctor, and why am I so sick? And I had Lyme disease in the car accident. It was latent from when I was in the Park Service as a park ranger, and the car accident activated it. So my healing journey took me to bioresonance and emotional healing and all the different ways that you can do healing. And eventually I put all these together, and I decided, okay, I'm going to use my intuitive abilities, and I'm going to help other people heal the same way that I found healing. So I gathered together and curate the best of the knowledge that I could find: energy medicine and color therapies and sound therapy and frequency therapies. And I bring them together to help people. And I use my intuition, and I use that on a regular basis.
And we've seen that you're also one of the coaches in my programs, and people have seen you. You're just amazing and guiding people to that last missing piece, that extra little key, the little tweak they need to make. And I have to say, I don't know anyone who's trained in more modalities than you are. So, and I love how you're combining all these things, make it your own, and really use it to the best of your ability. Like, basically, not to the best of your ability, but use it in a powerful cocktail, so to speak, along with your intuition. So I'm going to turn my video off. So I think you do have some slides for us, right? A little bit of education, and then you're going to actually do some grounding practices with us together, right?
Yeah. Well, most of it. So, I'll do it in this slide. I'll show you in the presentation.
Okay. All right. I'm going to hide my video so that we see you full screen.
Okay. And then I'll be sharing my screen here. So you share screen and do that PowerPoint. Share. Okay. All right. Do you see that okay?
Yes, we do. Perfect.
Thank you. All right. Awesome. Okay. So Clear Vision Wednesday. So our topic is balancing the earth element, how feeling safe helps us to see clearly. So I'm going to cover a little introduction to the 5 elements, some signs of the earth element imbalance, and how we can balance the earth element. I really like to spend more time on the positive than the negative. So that's going to be where the focus is going to be. And those will be the practices that we're going to discuss. And I already mentioned I'm a professional intuitive, bioresonance practitioner, a life coach, visionary artist. I do work with, in this local area, I work with a team of doctors and medical doctors and psychologists that help people overcome trauma and issues with neurodiversity, ADHD, late diagnosis of autism. So I use my intuitive abilities to help them heal as well. So 5 elements, but there's 5 different elements. It's a system of, it was used by China, it originated in China for describing interactions and relationships between phenomena. And that was like 1st or 2nd century BCE Han Dynasty. So Earth element, of those 5 elements, the season, so each element has a season with it. It has season, it has organs, it has a taste and a sense. The Earth element season is late summer. And that's about celebrating abundance. It's about stability and nourishment. If you think like the terms of the harvest, it's collecting the successes and the abundance of the year. This is the time to celebrate what you harvested from what you grew throughout the year. It's about transformation and balance and a bountiful cornucopia. It's all about counting everything that went right for the year. So it's a moment of gratitude. So some signs of Earth element being out of balance. That's going to be feeling unsupported in life. So Earth is really about the mother and mothering. And for people who may have lacked a mother, didn't have the best mother in childhood, this element may be chronically out of balance in their life. And you'll see that come up by this constant feeling of, I don't feel supported in life. I don't feel like anybody is there for me. Nobody has my back. There might be a tendency for codependent relationships. There might be inherent lack of confidence, and people who might be a people pleaser, like constantly wanting to show or prove yourself to others because you did lack that approval or that really true mothering, the true nurturing. So once Earth element is out of balance, the emotion associated with Earth is spleen. Not the emotion, the organ associated with Earth is the spleen and stomach both, but they correspond with the emotions of worry. So worry and anxiety activate stress in you. Stress goes into the sympathetic response, and it includes a reduction in peripheral vision. And there's actually studies on this. There's an anxiety center that focuses on the fact that your vision literally changes when you feel worried, anxious, scared. It actually decreases. And by a reduction in peripheral vision, I'm talking about it goes to the extent of tunnel vision. That's where the central vision is clear and the peripheral vision narrows. It could narrow to the point where you don't see anything, like it's literally black on the sides, or it could be imperceptible to you where you see the clarity in the center, but on the sides, you've lost color perception, you've lost depth and movement perception. And I actually had this experience myself when I was hit by the drunk driver and I lost peripheral vision, and I did not know it. I literally was completely oblivious to the fact that I had no peripheral vision anymore. And it wasn't until I went to a Syntonics conference in Florida, and that's where I met Dr. Ray Gottlieb. And it was with a bunch of doctors. And by the way, how I got there was that I'm an artist, and I saw something in the paper on a color class. And I thought, I want to go to that. And when I looked into it, they're like, well, did you want the color class workshop or did you want the whole conference? And I was like, there's a conference? And I said, I want to go to the conference. But I was the only person who was a non-doctor there. So I was kind of a guinea pig. And the doctors all practiced on me, and they showed me, and the first question they asked when they measured my peripheral vision in a little test that they do, they said, oh, you've had a head injury. And I said, no way, how do you know that? And they said, because your peripheral vision is so tiny. It was only like an inch wide. It was tiny, tiny. And then I had no color perception either. And they said, yeah. And they said, we can see by it's flattened too. So you probably have a hard time reading and comprehending things. And I said, oh my God, that is so me. I can't read anymore. And I have a whole library of books. I have like 1,000, probably more than 1,000 books now. But I didn't read anymore. I couldn't read because I couldn't comprehend anything. My mind just didn't take anything in anymore because of the trauma that I had gave me this lack of peripheral vision. And it extends to other things as well. It's all the feelings and responses in your body that associate with being stressed out. So being in perpetual worry creates anxiety, and anxiety just means that it's longer lasting and it's a little deeper and it's harder to get out of than worry. Worry we have more control over. By the time you've been worrying constantly, you're in a state of anxiety, even if you don't know it. It's a perpetual fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. And so fight is wanting to fight, flight is wanting to run away or flee, freezing is going to manifest as either apathy or agoraphobia, where you're afraid to leave the house, or you're afraid to go out, afraid to go to the mall, or you're uncomfortable going out. And fawn is another trauma response it's people pleasing. It's literally an inherent need to be liked by others. And it comes with you not really liking yourself that much. And it's kind of a hard one to see. But if you are a perpetual people pleaser and you constantly want to be that person to take care of others, which is a great quality, but it can get out of balance when like you're the only one doing it and really nobody's looking out for you. So that's another sign of earth element being out of balance. That's called fawning, that people pleasing mode. And it's about being on high alert all the time so that you are unconsciously noticing and reacting to anything that resembles being a threat. It could be a loud noise, it could be people talking in the room, it could be too much stimulation in lighting. Grocery stores can really be an offender with this one. Concerts, it's anything that is going to activate that sympathetic nervous system fight, flight response in you. And it could be a teeny tiny little trigger. It does not have to be a big trigger at all. So you end up hypervigilant. You end up constantly scanning the world for potential threats. Like, oh my gosh, is it coming from this direction or that direction? And not big things. This isn't like, oh gosh, there's going to be a car accident. This is just somebody going to argue with you. Or so I'll give a personal example. When after the car accident injury and with Lyme, I had a really hard time with lighting. Like bright lights got to me, especially fluorescent overhead lighting. They were literally painful. It was like the light had a noise to it and the noise was unbearable to me. So I would like walk into the kitchen first thing in the morning and the first thing I would do is turn off the kitchen light that my mom had turned on. She was looking out for me after the accident. I turned off that light because it was so uncomfortable. I was like, I can't take that light. It just screams at me. So that's that hypervigilance. I had just been knocked into a state of constant anxiety and it was earth element being out of balance too. So it goes hand in hand. You have the trauma, earth element gets out of balance. So how do you bring it back into balance? I'm sure like this is like the key question here. And I always say I want to spend more time on the solutions than on the problems. So balancing earth element is about cultivating contentment. It is about a mothering energy. You have to think in terms of Gaia, the earth energy, that sense of being cared for, nurtured, and loved. So we're going to go through a bunch of different ways that you can increase earth element. And as a bioresonance practitioner, one of the things I do in my sessions is I run a scan that I built myself. I designed it on the 5 elements. And so it goes through each element and it looks for the 1 or 2 or 3 things that would help balance, bring that element back into balance. And for some people, one element will need a week protocol and another, or it might even need a full, if it's long standing out of balance, it'll be a month-long protocol. And then you have to do one of these activities every single day. And they're really simple, easy, fun things. I am all about, not necessarily the shortcuts, but I'm about making it so simple and so easy that you can handle doing it. So if you resonate with any of these things, then write it down. Write down the one that you say, oh, I could do that one. That sounds like me. This would help me. And then you might see some things in here that I didn't mention in the problems, but they're balancers. So I'll talk about those a little bit too, but some things I didn't want to put pictures of because I don't want to focus on the negative with it. So balancing earth element, be a great mom to yourself. So one of the things I do I'm also a havening practitioner and an EMDR practitioner. And at the start of those sessions, we talk about building a resource library for ourselves. It can be like outer resources, but really I'm talking about inner resources. And one of those is establishing in your mind an imaginary mother figure, like a nurturer. We actually do a mother figure, a father figure, and then a wise teacher figure, like a guru or a wisdom, a sage person, someone with wisdom. But for the mom one, we pick someone who represents an ideal mom. And if you didn't grow up with an ideal mom, then you have to imagine it. And it's amazing how many people cannot think of a good mom figure. They really can't. And I'm like, okay, think of movies, think of like a deity that you, some person that you respect who passed away, a family member, a friend's family member, it can be a grandmother. It could be a pet. A lot of people choose a pet, maybe a pet in spirit that was their mother figure in childhood when they didn't really have a mom figure. So it's about being a great mom to yourself. How can you nurture yourself? How can you be the mom that you wish you still had or that you never had in the first place? So being your own best mother. That's one of the key ones. Sharing meals together with family or friends, getting together with friends and celebrating togetherness, that warm family feeling. Think warmth. Cozy fuzzy sock night. So I was thinking for people out there who maybe they don't have close family or they don't have friends nearby that they can spend time with to go out and eat with, and spend time with a pet. Have a cat or a dog or a friend's cat or a dog And this is actually posted online. This is Bob the writing cat, and they called it Cozy Fuzzy Sock Night, when the nights move from summer and start to go into fall and things get a little chilly, and the human puts on the cozy, warm, fuzzy socks, and then like it's time for the cat to curl under the bed covers with the warm socks. So that's the Cozy Fuzzy Sock Night. And eating. So balancing earth element can be about food. For those of you who like to cook or eat out, think warm, nourishing meals. Think soups. Think warm and cooked foods, not cold, not raw. Things that have been cooked with nice warming spices. So like root vegetables, carrots, potatoes, parsnips, squashes are also really good. So but always cooked, cooked, warm, nourishing. Beans and nuts and seeds are also balancing that way, if you can handle those. And warming spices, think the gingers, the fennels, coriander, caraway, cardamom spices. You could think in terms of Thanksgiving meals, the way that they have the pumpkin pie and the stuffing and things that are cooked and warming. And then cultivating a feeling of coziness in your own home. This can be comfortable furniture, big pillows on the couch, warm, soft comforters, things that are soft, rounded corners, beauty, looking around the room and seeing things that light up your soul from the inside, whether it's fresh flowers or a really beautiful cat or dog bed where you've got your pets there around you. So it's cultivating that happy feeling in your home. So when you come home, you feel nurtured, warmed, loved, appreciated. Even if it's just if you live by yourself, then you're doing all those things for yourself. Cultivating that warmth so you have this sanctuary in your own home. So balancing earth element is about clearing clutter, simplifying and organizing. So one of the things I didn't mention before was another sign of earth element being out of balance is clutter. So if you look around and every horizontal surface in your home has stuff on it, whether it's the kitchen or a desk in a room or all the tables around you, that's a sign of earth element being out of balance, is clutter. And it's interesting because some friends of mine were watching a show online recently, it was a couple days ago, on hoarding. And one of my comments, and it was horrible. I mean, I don't watch TV, but I watched a few minutes of this and it was just so uncomfortable to watch it because it was just horrifying. But I made a comment to them. They were saying, oh, those people are really sick. And I said, no, I said, it's trauma. I said, a lot of times hoarding is a response, or clutter is a response to trauma. And I said, I make you a bet. They had a death in the family, probably the mother. And that's what happened. And then they kind of tweaked and ended up with this clutter situation. And sure enough, they started asking the lady, when did this start? And she said, well, my mother passed away and blah, blah, blah. And it was exactly what I had said, because I'd heard about it and read about it and felt it. I was like, oh, that's so interesting. So clearing clutter, and clutter can be your inbox. It can be in your home. It can be in your mind. If your mind is racing all the time and thinking in circles and you can't really decide on like which direction to go in, I'm confused, I'm lost, that all of those are signs of earth element being out of balance. So simplifying, clearing the clutter, even for depression, for people who are in a really deep depression. Denise Lynn made this example one time. She had a friend who contacted her. She's a energy medicine practitioner, and she does past life regression and feng shui and a lot of different things. But anyway, like a Hay House publishing speaker. She said that a friend called her one time and they were hysterical and they were threatening to commit suicide. So she said, okay, I'm going to drive over there right now. Here's what I want you to do. She said, I want you to go to the most cluttered place in your home. And she said, what is it? And they said, well, it's my kitchen drawer, like the junk drawer. Why? And she said, I want you to clean it during the time it takes me to get to your place, which was about a 45-minute drive. So they said, okay. And she said, okay, I'm going to hang up now and I want you to clean the drawer and I'll be right there. So they promised they would wait for her to get there. And when she got there and they were like, okay, I cleaned the drawer. They said, I can't believe it, but I feel better now. And she was laughing, and it was a feng shui thing that she had done with them for clearing that clutter. Not promising that works with everybody, but it was a really interesting example of how important it is to keep things clear. So think of the most cluttered place in your home and tackle that first. And there's lots of books out there in the library and online for clearing clutter and simplifying and being organized. This is a scene from the movie from Sound of Music. the scene where they're singing about my favorite things. So earth element's about treasuring your favorite things. So it's like having a shelf or an altar or a place in your home where you place things that you treasure. So it could be photos of your loved ones. It could be people that you admire. It could be spiritual or religious photos, flowers, crystals, anything, little mementos of travel, little memories for you, anything that for you is something that reminds you of something that you treasure. Photos of your family and pets, something that you really care about. And I will say one quick story. I used to sing a lot, and I got a soundtrack of The Sound of Music, and I would sing it all the way driving to college and back home again in my car as loud as I could. I would sing all those different songs. So every time I see that, I think, oh yeah, Sound of Music. So balancing earth element, you can also add earth colors to your life. This can be in your wardrobe, wearing the earth colors. Those are yellows, beiges, browns, soft pink. So think darker, warmer colors, or just like Southwestern type colors. And the border of the PowerPoint, that's exactly what I did here. Was I created that myself with the little feeling of Aztec or Southwestern art in there, the earth colors. You can bring the colors into your home around you, just little touches here and there. It doesn't have to be a lot. And when you bring in the earth colors that way into your home, you can bring them in also as photos. You could bring in photos of the desert, or you could bring in photos of some of the Southwestern national parks. Actually, I was a park ranger at Zion National Park and at Glen Canyon National Recreation Area. So those are places that have those beautiful Southwestern earth colors, those soil colors. And of course, grounding. And we talked about grounding in 2 previous episodes of Clear Vision Wednesday. So spending time outside, grounding and earthing, that's barefoot. You do need to take your shoes off if it's a safe place to do so. You can walk on soil, you can walk on sand, you can even walk out in the beach into the water and be walking on the sand there too, but focusing on grounding your feet into that energy of the earth and feeling the earth energy coming up through the bottoms of your feet and back up into you, up to about your solar plexus level. So you're bringing that energy up into you and grounding yourself to the earth. Funny story about this, grounding is a really wonderful way to work with wild animals. So I'm also an animal communicator, and I practice this a lot when I study with Penelope Smith, who's one of the best in the world, if not the best in the world, out in Point Reyes National Seashore about 20 years ago. And I practiced with the wild animals out there. And I noticed that when I made sure that I was grounded, the animals felt safe with me. They were far more willing to interact with me on a much deeper level. I mean, they always felt kind of generally safe with me. I mean, I've gotten followed by so many wonderful animals, whales and dolphins and foxes and deer, and I would just interact with them on a really neat and special level. But the grounding was really important. And I took an animal training one time with Kumari, and it was at a wildlife refuge for big cats. And so when we were interacting with the big cats, it was really important to be grounded. And the animals, the big cats, I was working with a clouded leopard, and they really appreciate you being grounded. They sense it because they're grounded. Animals are naturally grounded. They don't usually become ungrounded unless they're maybe in a high rise or they're always indoors, in which case you'd want to work with them a little bit to help them get grounded too. So grounding and earthing is super important. And both Madison and Claudia talked about that in the previous episodes. So balancing earth element, getting creative. So painting, singing, dancing, playing. You can write poetry. You can make collages. You can, anything that taps into that creative spirit in you. I was speaking with someone the other day, and we were talking about how to bring in just like a greater sense of happiness in their life. And I was tuning in and doing an intuitive read on it. And I heard the word ballad. And I thought, that's so funny. I thought I mean, I've done tons and tons of intuitive readings, but I never heard that word before, ballad. So I thought, well, I'm going to ask. So I said to the person, I said, I'm hearing the word ballad. And they said, yeah, I'm an opera singer. I said, oh, I mean, not currently. They weren't currently an opera singer. They were doing something else. And I was like, oh, your guides are saying they want you to do the singing again. But it was really funny that came in with that. So that was an example too of earth element being a little out of balance. And some of the things I stated about those signs were there in that person too. So, and that's a book, Why Cats Paint. So balancing earth element, writing your worries in a journal. This is a really good way to get that looping sensation out of your mind, where if you're constantly overanalyzing things or just chewing on things in your mind, you're just thinking about them and swirling thoughts, and it's not really going anywhere, or even if it is going someplace, it's just moving too fast and kind of driving you crazy, and you don't have a lot of quiet space in your mind. Write things down, get a journal, get a piece of paper, start writing. It's important that it doesn't take up residency in your brain to drive you crazy. That is like not a pleasant place to be. And one example of how to do that is a book called The Artist's Way. And it was printed quite a long time ago, maybe 25 years. And this is Julia Cameron wrote this. I actually met her at a conference one time. So she talked about something called the morning pages. And a lot of people do this. And it's super easy. What you do is you write 3 pages down first thing in the morning, stream of consciousness, whatever comes to your mind. It can be what you're thinking about doing that day. It can be things that you're worried about. It can be judgments that you might have on yourself, but it's just like getting it out of your head. So with the idea that once it's down on paper, your mind doesn't feel the need to keep ruminating over it and analyzing it and thinking about it, because it's safe. Like, it's on a piece of paper, it's written down, it's safe. I would also say the morning pages are not something that you should share with others. This is something that you keep private to you. It's just you're getting it out of your head and getting it onto paper. And it's a really nice way to kind of clear the energy for the day, is doing morning pages. And that's Artist's Way, again, it's called. You could probably find that in your library, or for sure it's available as a used book and new book too. Okay, so combining both, a little bit of journaling and also part of balancing earth is creating a schedule for yourself. And it's about safety. So with the eyes and creating clarity in your world, it's about feeling safe. I mean, if nothing else, the single thing that has come up the most when I've worked with people on improving their vision on an emotional level, on a coaching level, has been that the eyes don't feel safe in the world. For some reason, somehow, maybe it was trauma, maybe it was a lack of support from the family, maybe it was an abuse situation. And I have heard some horrible stories over, and I won't talk about those, but I've heard some horrible stories. So people need to feel safe in the world, and the eyes especially need to feel safe. And one way to do that is creating a bit of a schedule for yourself. So this is a fun way of doing a schedule. If you've never seen bullet journals or bullet journal calendars, it's illustrated journaling and calendars. And you can Google this, but like put it into an internet search and click under images, and you'll have tons and tons of images on doing illustrated journaling and calendars. And it's so easy to learn. You do not have to be an artist to do this kind of thing. It's super easy. And it's a lot of fun. And to learn how to do like the decorative lettering. Oh, and a lot of libraries have these books too. Have books on, it's called, some kind of decorative lettering, or illustrated handwriting, or bullet journals. And there's another one, example for September. And then earth elements about practice loving self-care. So getting a massage, doing a spa day, having a manicure or a pedicure, but it's something where you feel loved, supported, and nurtured. And if you can't or not able to get a massage, then get some of the roll and relax, the yoga tune-up balls that Claudia works with, and do a session on yourself that way, and roll on your back and get those balls in the places where it hurts, and work on them till it doesn't hurt anymore, because it's about supporting yourself and feeling like my body's taken care of and I can relax, and that all of these pull you out of this fight flight mode, this fear, worry, anxiety mode. All of these things help you to feel safer in the world, and feeling safe in the world equals better visual clarity. And then exercising out in nature. It can be yoga, it can be walking, it can be swimming, but whatever it is, it's easy. It's easy, it's slow. It'd be great if you could do it with in a group situation, with like yoga on the beach maybe, or walking together in a little group. Like in Germany, I know they have these Spaziergang, it's Wandertag days, they're called, like wander days. We used to do it as in the military, they would have these German American days where you would have like a Wandertag, and you would go together as a group and you would hike along these beautiful trails. Sometimes it was in a forest, sometimes it was in a meadow, but it was usually during spring and summer when things were growing. So you could be snacking on blackberries and grapes and blueberries and strawberries and other berries along the trail while you walk together with the local Germans and then some of the American military people. Just really, really a fun time. So that would be a really good example of balancing the earth element. So once again, so wrapping up some of the benefits. So balancing earth element is all about cultivating contentment. It's a sense of feeling protected, of feeling supported, of feeling safe, independent of anyone else in your world. It's about feeling safe within yourself, whether there's anybody with you to support you or not, wherever you are, at home, out in the world, out up on a stage, you feel safe. You feel safe. You feel content. You feel balanced. You feel supported. So the other videos that we had in this series, one was by Madison King, who I absolutely adore. She is one of the primary teachers, instructors for Donna Eden Energy Medicine. Donna Eden's an energy medicine practitioner that I have studied with for a little over 20 years. And also with Madison as well. Madison she taught a great class on simple and quick energy medicine techniques for grounding. That is wonderful. It's so chock full of information. You probably have to watch it 2 or 3 times just to get everything out of it. But it's a great, great little video. So watch that one. That was from 2 weeks ago. And then Claudia had the one on barefoot vision, how footwear and care affects your vision, where she goes through a whole little 40-something minute routine on working with your feet for grounding. And that is a great one. I highly recommend it. Also, you don't have to necessarily buy the yoga tune-up balls. If you do, please use Claudia's affiliate link. But if you aren't able to buy the balls, you can use a tennis ball or other little round ball that you get at like the dollar store or something. You just use a little round ball don't use a pool ball, not like a pool cue ball. It's like too hard. You want like a medium weight bouncy ball. I waited for a sale and got them, and I'm really glad I did. They're different from any balls that I have, and I've used a lot of different balls for body work over the years. And then for myself, I also do artwork. I'm actually a visionary artist, but one of the things I thought would be fun for you guys to do is creating vision shifters for vision. I do custom made ones with custom colors in acrylic or wood, and those help the saccadic eye movement. So help your eyes move better to improve your vision. And then the little star that you see, the Tibetan star, helps with astigmatism. That's something that I've been doing to heal from the astigmatism, as well as watching my posture. And all these things are available in Claudia's higher level classes. So like Naturally Clear Vision and the mentorship, and Clear Vision Club. Those classes, she talks about the astigmatism correction and all the different ways you work with your posture. But one of the ways you can help do that is with the Tibetan star. So I have an Etsy shop called Art for Transformation. It is not up yet because they're still approving my banking information. But it will be up by this weekend, I promise. And I have it on Facebook too, but Facebook's a little tricky and people haven't been able to buy things from me. So I put that out there, and I do custom colors. And I'll show you some in a second when we get off the thing. I actually made some for someone who wanted certain colors on each side. And I'm available for sessions too. I love working with people and helping them. Probably my greatest joy is helping people connect with their soul's purpose on the planet and really live a happy, healthy life. Sometimes that involves clearing some past blocks and identifying what's a trigger, or what was like an originating incident. I'm really good at talking with someone, reaching back into the past and figuring out what's the key to what's going on today. Because when earth element, or really any of the elements, get out of balance, it can cause a lot of havoc in people's lives. And it might be something way far in the past, back when they were like a 2-year-old or 3 or 4-year-old, that didn't get healed, didn't get resolved. And the mind still is stuck in that fight flight response. And so if we go back in there, we use psychosensory therapies, EMDR, EFT, or a havening as well to help those heal. Then the people can fully connect with their life purpose and live this happy, healthy life. So I do clairvoyant coaching sessions and havening sessions, and I do packages of sessions, because you can't do all of those usually in one whole session if you need a lot of work. But I also do straight clairvoyant work for people who want to ask questions on where to go next, what they want to study, where they want to move, about relationships, about career, job, purpose. Pretty much anything you can think of. I have been asked at one time or another, and I tune in, I talk with the people's guides, I talk with their soul, and we give them insights that they might not have found otherwise. And I do like to empower people. I don't want people to just see me as the one who has their answers. I like people to know that you can get your own answers. But sometimes it really does help to have another perspective and insights that you're too close to your own stuff, so to speak. So you may not see your own answers and your own solutions. And lastly, today is World Gratitude Day. So I would like to, from my heart, thank everybody who took the time to join here today. Thank you for people listening online, people on YouTube watching today live and watching the replay. And thank you for our Clear Vision Club members. And most of all, thank you for Claudia for inviting me to the show. I really, really appreciate it. And I appreciate each one of you for joining us today.
Thank you. That was amazing. Oops. Let's see.
I like you.
For the speaker view. Oops, it doesn't let me go. Okay, here we go. Let me bring myself back on. That was really amazing. So I have to say, some of the things I'm curious here in Clear Vision Club on Zoom. Put a me in the chat, and if you're watching on YouTube, put a me in the chat if one of those out of balance symptoms apply to you. I would be really curious. I can definitely raise my hand, and I've been doing a lot of work with the earth element and working with Trisha and other practitioners and my own work in grounding and, you know, the body work. But yeah, I can, if I would just swivel my computer around, you know, you definitely see some piles of stuff. So I can definitely relate to them. And there was a few other things that I thought were really spot on. And I really, that was a beautiful presentation. Very, very sweet images. So even on YouTube, put a me in the chat. I'm curious. Yeah, we see a lot of me's. I definitely relate to that. And it wasn't just the clutter, but definitely that feeling of sometimes not feeling supported and not feeling loved. And then you might say, Trisha, maybe let me know if that's true. Oh, well, I'm single, I'm not in a relationship, or, you know, I don't have parents anymore, I don't have siblings. But it's, I've come to experience that it's really a feeling because you have a lot of support and you have that tunnel. I love how you talked about the tunnel vision, where you only see the problems and you don't have that peripheral vision of like, there's so many people out there that love me, that support me, and we only see the one that we want to, maybe it's the mother that we want us to love, and they're not capable of doing that because of their own trauma. So thank you so much. That was really beautiful. And we are open to questions. So if you're on YouTube or here, if you have any questions for Trisha, you gave us a whole, you know, download of all the different things we can do, and maybe we can write a list down of those things so we can put them in the YouTube description.
Yes,
but I thought that was a lot of great strategies. And it's interesting because when you talk about animals that only live indoors, a lot of shelter cats, right? My daughter's adopted kittens, and you're not supposed to have them outside, but especially one of them definitely has that anxiety and you know, is getting stressed. And it's interesting how that even affects animals and how they're naturally grounded. So anyway.
Yeah. Well, with kitties, like I have a grounding mat, and I'll put that out sometimes for the kitties to ground on. And the other thing you can do, so Madison talked about this with using the stainless steel spoon. You can spoon the bottoms of your pet's paws.
Oh yeah, with the stainless steel spoon.
Yeah. And I so a lot of people are like, well, I can't touch my animal's paws. Well, get them used to it. It just takes like every single day doing like one little touch. I usually, when you first start training them, I just wait till they're asleep, and then I'll just touch the paw, and that's it. And then maybe pet them a little bit, and they might pull their paw away. But over time, if you keep doing it and keep doing it, eventually you cup the paw and you get them so they're used to it. And ideally you do that so you can also trim the claws yourself, or the nails on the dogs too. But then you can spoon the paw. So get them used to it. I train my animals to be really handleable, but the stainless steel spoon is good on your foot to ground you. And it's a great way to ground your pets too.
I love it. So, and yeah, definitely. So the connection to vision is that what you beautifully shared earlier, when we are in that fight or flight mode. And it's always one thing is an accident in that moment, but when you don't come out of that,
right,
you lose that peripheral field. And then there's this strain on the central focus that was really creates that blurry vision. And we have to be relaxed and grounded. We have to feel safe to be relaxed and grounded and to have that kind of peripheral field, that full visual awareness. So yeah, a lot of people said me.
Well, and being in a state of perpetual worry, it's funny because it's insidious. It's insidious in the sense we don't notice it when it's happening. So I did a bioresonance scan, and I can scan with my mind too. So like if it's a phone call, I just do it with my mind instead of doing it with the system because I'm trained as a medical intuitive. But I scanned a friend of mine, and she was asking about she's getting the intraocular eye pressure going up. So she is a candidate for glaucoma, and she's young, and she was really concerned about it. So she was talking to me about it. So I ran the scan, and it came up with that, with earth element being out of balance. And I said, are you like a chronic worrier? And she's like, oh my God, that is me. I worry all the time about everything. And so it was literally leading to this eye issue. So, I mean, it's more than just a little bit important to pay attention to your level of stress, your level of anxiety, anything in your past that might not be healed. And it will come out in sometimes really ugly ways, like addiction is another one. I've seen cases with people who got addicted to drugs like cocaine or lesser drugs like maybe even caffeine or smoking or sugar. And it was a response to unhealed trauma. I mean, I hate to say that, but I work with trauma every day of the week, and it's everywhere. And when it gets really bad, it can turn into depression and feeling lost in the world, and it can take people to really dark places. And I want to emphasize that if people need like professional help, I refer people to the psychologist that I work with, the team. For myself, like just doing clairvoyant work and clients and coaching, I'm happy to do that. But if people need professional help, I absolutely refer them. And then they're supported by an entire team of people. And that's really, I make sure that people get their needs met. I definitely do not step outside of my boundaries and my own level of my scope of awareness in how I work with people.
That's why we appreciate you. And I do the same thing. I definitely send people to the eye doctor if there's anything beyond. But I love that connection that you said about a young person, having this higher risk for glaucoma and higher ocular pressure and high blood pressure. There's also this perfectionism idea, right? Having to get things right. And I found anxiety to be even higher with nearsighted people. There's even more like that worry about the future and about things that are coming. And so the worry could be, or the anxiety, I think, is more almost higher with nearsightedness. And I'm curious if you guys agree or if you've noticed that. So I was farsighted. My struggle is farsightedness, and there was more of a ruminating about the past and maybe being angry about the past. And so we have a few questions here. So one person is asking, how does breathing help balance Earth?
Well, if you breathe in a way, well, what I would do is I would incorporate breathing as part of a grounding exercise. So, because I use breathing throughout my sessions, especially when I notice, because what happens when you get stressed out, think about it. What do? You hold your breath. I mean, when you get tense, especially in your stomach, like even me when I'm doing a presentation, I probably don't breathe. I probably hold my stomach. I probably hold some stress or strain there.
And well, you can shift that. I used to do that. And, once sorry to interrupt you, Trisha, but
go ahead.
I think the key thing here is once we become aware of these habits, because I used to do the same thing. My stomach was rock hard, and I would have to walk on the gorgeous ball and breathe. And it was so uncomfortable initially. And then now, like, this might still happen, but then you're like, oh, I noticed that I'm stopping to breathe. So go on. So how do you, I use this also in all my work with breathing, but is there anything particular that you love to do as a breath practice when it comes to the grounding or the earth element?
So I worked briefly for Heart Math a long time ago out in California, and I learned a kind of breathing there using their techniques and their little M-wave device that measures your heart rate variability, HRV. So HRV, heart rate variability, is the number one indicator of your likelihood to have a heart attack. So it is a measurable thing. And they have a little device and you measure it. And I learned that if I did circular breathing, then I could go into the green zone very quickly, and I could go into that nice heart rate that was nice and variable, nice heart rate variability, and it was a level of entrainment. So I would become entrained.
Can you
And
explain to us how that works, the circular breathing?
so, okay, so you take a deep breath in and let it out. And then another deep breath in and let it out. So it's long inhales, long exhales, and no pausing. A lot of time people like they'll take an inhale and then hold it for 3 seconds. I don't do that. This isn't that. This is inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. And if you look at there's graphs online for heart math. Actually, we should get a heart math speaker on for better vision too. That would be a good one. But it's a really nice little entrainment graph where you see these nice, beautiful curves and these little bell curves that show your heart rate up and down, up and down, up and down. And I'll give an example. I would use the breathing, grounding and breathing technique when I'm interacting with wildlife. And one time I was at the beach, this is out at Clearwater Beach, and there was a dolphin coming in close to shore. There was a guy fishing, who's a friend of mine now. So he was fishing and the dolphins were kind of hanging around the fishing. But it was really shallow. Like it was only up to about the top part of my thighs in the water. So I walked out into the water because they were so close, I couldn't believe it. And I started doing a little running energy and I started doing the circular breathing, that entrainment breathing I had learned from heart math. So I was doing the entrainment breathing and running a little bit of energy, and the dolphin lifted its head up out of the water and looked at me and looked sideways. And everybody was standing there gasped. They're like, oh my God, it like literally spy hopped, like popped out and it looked directly at me like it was saying, I feel and see what you're doing and I sense it and I want to let you know. It was so funny. So the animals sense it and they got it. And that was that circular breathing. So bringing in that breath work, absolutely, that is grounding to you. It increases the parasympathetic response. So in other words, the rest, relax, digest mode takes you out of fight or flight, takes you out of sympathetic, takes you out of high arousal, drops you back down regulates your nervous system and gets you into a calm space. And that's what you really want. You want to be able to regulate your own nervous system to calm yourself down quickly if anything stresses you out, and not even get stressed out in the first place. If it's not an emergency, then it's not an emergency and you don't want to respond to something in an inappropriate.
I love that. I mean, that's a simple way I teach the ocean breath, and also longer exhales help you too. So there's a lot of different breath techniques, but this is easy enough. Inhale, exhale. And by the way, I'm wearing the Aura ring here. I don't know if you see that, but this is a little ring that connects to Bluetooth, and that measures your heart rate variability. And I know that when your heart rate variability drops, like when it's not hot, good enough, then when the inhale and exhale difference in your heartbeat is not pronounced enough, like you said, it's an indicator for a heart attack. So you can actually, I know people were saved by getting this feedback. So the ring, and it's funny, I just was at the biohacking conference last week here in LA, and I meant to take a picture, but I didn't get to do it. But literally everyone, like I wanted to take a picture of all these hands in a circle with all the different, all the different skin colors, and then some black Aura rings and some, so they come in different colors, like silver and gold, and some people are on their ring finger. And I thought, like, it's interesting because in this community, everybody knows what an Aura ring is, and it's spelled O-U-R-A. I'm not affiliated with them, but it's a really great device that it connects to an app, and you don't have to have Bluetooth on all the time. You just have it on to sync the device and then to look at your readings, but you don't have to have this on all day, right? You usually have my phone on airplane mode. So it's not a concern that you just, the few times where you sync it or you download the app or a few things where you have to have Bluetooth on. And so I think that's a really and most people don't know what that is, but it's such a great device that's now gaining more popularity because it looks beautiful and you don't have to, have some kind of big machine. And I also got this, by the way, sorry to hijack your presentation. This is called the Apollo Neuro. So this is it basically has different mode programs, and it vibrates very gently, and it has focus mode, sleep mode, meditation mode, and it was developed by a psychiatrist actually. So and they have all these studies. So this one is a little bit more of a, this is a bigger piece that you have to wear, but the Aura ring obviously doesn't do that, but the Aura ring tracks your sleep. They track exactly your sleep cycles, your movement. And they give you this readiness score, like how ready are you for the day? Oh, today you should rest because you had a really stressful day. And they measure your low heart rate. Anyway, I'm not going to do a big promo on Aura Ring, but I think it's a great tool that is easy, right? That it's not something that's hard to do. Okay.
Yeah. Well, and all these things, they are all tools. And it's so funny because I just heard about the one that you just described today, which is funny because it was the first time I'd heard about it. I would say the nice thing about them is like, if you can't afford one, see if you can find someone that you could borrow one from for a day or something, because it's really about just practicing to figure out what your keys are to better nervous system regulation. Because once you know how to do it, once you know how to get, I call it getting in the green zone. But once you know how to get in the green zone, then you know how to do it. You'll know, okay, these are my keys. I used to even play with having the M wave on. I would wear it when I was driving and see if I could stay in the green zone even when I was in traffic. And then I started paying attention to, well, can I sing while I'm stay in the green zone? And certain songs I could sing to, and others, like I think it was like rock and roll, I would go immediately into the red zone when I was singing. And I thought, wow, that is so interesting. Like really pay attention to what calms you down. Petting the cats or petting dogs, definitely green zone all the way. It's funny because Howard Martin, who's one of their founders, he would do speeches and he would have the M wave on, and he would have the heart rate variability monitor on the screen, and you would watch him talk and do the entire presentation and stay in the green zone. Now, I would not do that, but it was really impressive because he had it down. He knew how to regulate his nervous system and keep his heart rate variability perfect, even while he was doing a talk.
I love that so yes, those tools, the Aura Ring or the Apollo Neuro, this costs about $300 depending on the finish. This one is $300. I can't remember with the app. I also got a little clip because you can actually have a little clip so you can put it on your top, right? You don't have to have it on the wrist. So those, with the clips and everything, it runs like $380, $400. So yes, I love that you said you can also try free tools and measure things, right? I mean, these are a little bit of an investment, but they are personalized to you, and you cannot just give this to somebody else to try it out. This is definitely.
Oh, that's right. No.
This measures your own, and it's registered to your account. And so because you want to have the feedback of the data in the past. So it kind of makes sure that, it suggests things to you. So it's really powerful.
Yeah.
But other devices you might be able to borrow or test out, or just do some, how do you feel now? We have some questions, Trisha, before we end the YouTube live. People said, I love my Aura night, and yes, turn off them at night. What about the double vision on my left eye a couple of months ago? Stress. I guess that's not really a question, but stress. There was suddenly double vision. Yeah, I mean, I would say when something suddenly appears, right? To me, it's like I always say the engine light, because we get it with a car. When the engine light comes on, you're not just like, oh, let me just drive another 1,000 miles. It's going to be fine. Usually you go to some mechanic or AutoZone or some place, whatever, where they check the diagnostics and oh, it's just a switch. My mechanic, I have an old car, and sometimes the engine light comes on, and I used to check oil, it was always fine. It's like, it's like a broken switch. And every single time it comes on, I want to bring the car in, it always goes back out. So he's like, I can't fix it. But I know now on my car, I still check the oil and stuff, but I know it's like a, what do you call it? Fake alarm, so to speak. But with a car, we take it seriously. And any vision changes, especially sudden vision changes, are always an indicator that something is wrong. It's not just aging or what they might, tell us.
Yeah. And there's always two parts to it. I always say, yes, go and see a doctor if you know that you need a doctor, if it's something like extreme. But the other component is look at the emotional side. I always say, okay, well, what happened in the last 30 days or what happened in the past 6 months leading up to that? And if you can kind of key in on one or two emotions, like, well, I was really sad about something. And then, but it wasn't that big of a deal, it was like a friend of a friend passed away or whatever. And so then I say, well, you're feeling that feeling. When did you have a bigger experience of feeling that feeling? And they said, well, 10 years ago, my parent passed away or something like that. And so it tracks back to a much older experience because it's resonating at the same feeling level. And then you've got to clear that originating. The farther back you can go to get to an originating experience, or either the oldest first experience or of that emotion, or the most active or highest volume of that emotion. That's another way to look at the experience. And when you heal those or work on healing those, is you give your physical body a better chance of healing.
Sounds awesome. We have one question that I can answer, and then there's a couple of questions in the Zoom chat. Is the size of pupils a sign of anxiety and stress? So yes, the relaxed pupils are small. Like, and if your pupils are large, obviously that could be because it's dark. It could be because you're taking some drugs, like when they put atropine drops into your eyes. It could also be, an incapacity of your iris to contract. So in that case, you have to be very safe and always wear sunglasses. But yes, when we are in fight or flight mode, our pupils do get larger. So 100% that is a response of that fight or flight mode for sure. And then there was a question in here. What is a good HRV, heart rate variability? I have the Aura ring, but I'm not sure what is a good reading. Is a 60 HRV better or worse than the 38, let's say?
Good question. I don't have an Aura ring. I only have the M
Well, it
wave.
doesn't matter if you have the ring, but what rate would you say is a good rate?
I don't even look at the number. I look at the pattern. It has to have a certain curve to it. And I actually just go for the green zone and the M wave. So depending on what device you have, you've got to figure out what that zone of happiness is. Where is the entrainment zone where your heart and your mind and your nervous system are all in sync and they're all down regulated, meaning calm. They're in a state of balance, homeostasis, and calm. And that's going to be different for every single device. If in the M Wave, which is a heart math device, and that one's pretty inexpensive. I think it's like $99 when it's on sale, and it hooks into your phone. It's just a little clip on your ear. But that one there's like a green zone for it, and they actually have world entrainment days where a bunch of people can sort of feed into the grid and send the planet good energy, where you're all working on the entrainment at the same time to sort of encase this world with positive vibes. Just fun.
Well, I know that 50 or lower is considered unhealthy usually. So you want to get it higher, and it depends on your age too. And I could do a little more research on that too. So I don't know I know there's variances in age in men and women. But so if you go, let's say if you go to the super extreme high level, right? That would mean that you on every inhale, you get so aroused. So then every exhale, you basically pass out. So heart rate variability means that when we inhale, our heart rate goes up. When we exhale, our heart rate goes down. And that space in between, the difference, the higher it is, the better. However, again, the extreme would be that you're so relaxed on the exhale that you just pass out. So that's obviously no good. We don't want that. But roughly about over 50 is definitely better than under 50. So definitely having a little higher difference between the heart rate versus, like, think of, I recently heard somebody say this, when we flatline, we're dead, basically. So think of the flatter it is, the unhealthier you are. And the more it moves, the healthier you are. So that's basically maybe a good way to think of it. It's like you want that kind of, compared to the blood sugar that you want to have pretty stable. Yeah. I know it's like, all these things might be really confusing, but getting one of those devices is really a good way to see, because then you, like, I love what you said, Trisha, that you can track, how did I feel today? And maybe when you combine it with the journaling, maybe even do morning and evening journaling and just notice, today I felt really good. I felt relaxed. I felt loved. I felt supported. I felt really grounded. And then check your heart rate. If you have a device, check what it was that day, and then check on a day where you just feel scatterbrained and overwhelmed and there's clutter everywhere and you don't know what to do first. So that's something that I actually want to start doing, like not just getting the readings, but tracking what was I doing that day? How did I feel? So we have to come to a close, but I think that was a great session, and you, as always, beautiful slides, Trisha. Your slides are just amazing, and so cute with all the cat pictures. I just love them. And yes, I think a lot of us recognized some imbalances, and now we have some strategies that we can use to get more into balance. And if you're interested in working, Trisha is brilliant. I've worked with her. If you're interested, then we have an email. Reach out. She has her Etsy shop up soon. I already ordered some of these shifters, because this is a different topic, but I do want to say that. So I have the ones in my courses that you print out. I have a transparent one, but she has the ones with actual holes in them, which you can also use for sunning, right? You can, show us some of them before we end the session.
I did. So this one, actually, I think it's for someone who's on the call too. this is yours. And it's got the pink on one side.
Yeah,
So
I love the two colors. Yes.
Alizarin crimson and then an aqua. And I actually studied professional airbrushing from Drew Blair in South Carolina in person. And so I use the airbrush on.
Yeah, you are beautiful. You make amazing art. So
Beautiful. Can't wait.
those are the wooden ones, right? The custom ones. So that's a little bit more. And then you also have some that are.
And and the little Tibetan stars too. Yep. And then actually, and same thing, I did blue and.
Ooh, love it. Show some of the ones that are. What material is it out of the, not plastic, but what is it called? Is it
acrylic?
Acrylic. So it's acrylic. So show us one of those. Those are obviously lower investment than the ones that are hand painted and out of wood, and where she spends several hours creating them. But I can't wait to get my hands on them, because the see-through ones are so much even better for your saccadic eye movements than the black and white ones, or even this one, which I got at the conference. It's transparent, but it's like plastic. All right, there you go. This is acrylic, and it comes also in different colors, right? You have different colors. Yeah.
And then I did two in kind of a rainbow colors.
Ooh, I want that one too. I'm gonna order all your shifters. Okay, maybe we do a session. We're gonna do a separate session on the shifters, but we wanted to just say that today that her shop is going to be open soon. And then I'm not the kind of person who likes to make those things, so I'm so grateful that Trisha is doing that. All right, I think we have no more questions. So let me just really quick. Yes, the Trisha's email is underneath the YouTube description. When you just open up and say see more, it's all in there. And Fitbit is not the most accurate tracker. Apple Watch is actually better. So Karen is saying I use an electronic calendar. Do you suggest also using a paper? I am a big fan. I'm used both for my meetings and my business. I obviously all the integrations, but I also not for calendar, for journaling, I like to actually use a paper journal versus writing it onto some kind of digital device. That's just my preference. And I think you would agree, Trisha, right? It's
important to handwrite when you're doing the morning pages and journaling. Handwrite.
Yeah, for sure. So with calendars, I think it's different. If you don't have a business and you just I used to have these old-fashioned moleskin calendars, but now with working with a team, and there's absolutely no way not to do it electronically. All right, YouTube. By the way, really quick before we say goodbye to YouTube, we have no Clear Vision Wednesdays the next 2 weeks. The next one is on October 12th, because I'm attending 3 different conferences, and I will learn a lot and share that with you. And so, and then we will also have Peter Greenwald from New Zealand, who's an amazing teacher. He brought out a new book. He's going to be not October 12th, but he's coming in October, I think on the 19th. So look forward to that. Okay, YouTube, goodbye. Follow me, look at Trisha, connect with her if you're interested. And I also have an Instagram. Everything is in the show notes, so you can look at that and get more advice. And we have over 70 great episodes that you can review. And if you want to be in my community, let me know. The Clear Vision Club is our community where we are on Zoom together. And so we have a little extra time afterwards. All right, everybody, bye. And thank you, Trisha.